Spires and Magic. Rise of Spider-Man. By Maximus Reborn. Chapter 8. Relations. Rarity, doing her best to multitask, slowly moved the fabric underneath the sewing machine's needle, whilst he gave affirmative nods between Twilight's statements. Once the clothing was threaded together, Rarity used her magic and brought the cup onto the table to her mouth, allowing the unicorn to sip a cold content without needing to leave her spot. Twilight's rant behind her continued to grow in volume, forcing Rarity to turn away from her design and blankly stare at her friend. "I do believe you're overreacting," she said at the sight of Twilight merely pacing a hole into her floor. "So Peter had to run into trouble yesterday. We should be grateful. If he hadn't, there's no telling what would have happened to poor Socorro." They stopped their tracks and saw a glare at Rarity. "That's not what I'm angry about. I'm happy Peter saved Socorro, but I'm upset he didn't consider the possibility that his powers could have failed. He rushed in blindly. That wasn't brave. That was stupid. The heroic types usually are, darling, but this is hardly surprising. If our dragon were so much as a second thought, and may I add that dragons are far more intimidating than hydras in terms of size and ferocity. He was poisoned. What if that was just a normal pony instead of a trained herbalist? Peter wouldn't have been able to treat, and he could have... Well, nurse like Celestia, placing circumstances in his favor. Surely he's used to the danger. After all, didn't you summon Peter here specifically to deal with a dangerous situation? It seems to me you're backpedaling, dear." Twilight resolved herself to keep her words mature, rather than responding with a child's "no, I'm not" argument. Rarity's words were in fact true, which only added to her frustration. Peter was regarded as the greatest hero in the book, but Twilight acted he was just another pony. Despite his heroic background, Twilight learned that was very the case. Her answer was childish, but Twilight only wanted to believe she was looking out for Peter as a friend. Rarity, noticing the troubled look in Twilight's eyes, giggled softly. "Ah, so that's what it is. I think you're taking a liking to young stallion." "What? No, of course I'm not. I mean..." Twilight stumbled for words, unsure whether or not Rarity's accusation was fairly accurate. "Of course he's my friend. I just..." She looked out to the side, flushed red. "Forget it. I'm going back home." Nodding her head, Rarity shifted her attention back to her sewing. "If that's how you feel, I cannot force your hoof." The unicorn shrugged over her shoulders. "You're not very good at lying, dear. There's no shame in admiring you like Peter. The fellow is quite charming." "I'm leaving, Rarity." Twilight exhaled as she neared the door, trying her best to tune out her friend's accusation. However, before she could progress any further, Peter's backpack fell to her side, causing Twilight to turn her head back to Rarity. "What's that?" The glow of Rarity's horn subsided. "Look at the head and toss Peter's costume back together. When you see him later, make sure to tell the oaf to be more careful next time. I started thinking this is a kind of fiasco with the hand digging." Twilight's brow crinkled involuntarily. "He was here already?" "Yes, but you needn't to worry, darling." The white unicorn's lips turned to a coy smile. "After that little stunt he pulled yesterday, I too felt that he didn't need to do anything stressful, and sent him away to the spa. What makes you so sure he'll go along with it?" Whipping her mangled locks to the side, Rarity smiled remained intact. "Trust me, dear, he's in very capable hooves." Peter stood with an exasperating look in his eyes. The fresh scent of assorted creams filled the room, and the sight of ponies with towels wrapped around their bodies served as a nagging distraction that was nearly impossible to ignore. Even in his new body, one thing was clear. Peter was the only male within the vicinity. He felt the stares and the mares around him. Some amused, others bewildered, but managing to keep his inner man in check, which was pathetically easy to do, Peter stayed in line and waited to be seated. Rarity was paying for this, and his body aches from yesterday made it difficult to decline the offer. Even with these circumstances, Peter wanted to find a reason to slither out the door. He could have come up with an excuse along the lines of "couldn't find a place," but Rarity must have sensed his plan, and left a little assurance in form of an escort named Fluttershy. The yellow Pegasus stood next to Peter with her ocean blue gaze fixed on the ground, causing him to sigh inwardly. With his costume and Rarity's precision, and Fluttershy by his side, Peter knew he was defeated, and forced to endure this trial. "Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and all you psychopaths want to play hockey with my skull. A single pony did what you couldn't do. Guess what? She's a fashion designer!" Fluttershy's soft voice pierced Peter's train of thought, brought his eyes to her lowered frame. Bright pink mane hid the majority of her face, namely from Peter's point of view, but her eyes met his before they fell to the ground. "Are you looking? You're not really talking," she said in a whispered tone, before her head turned away and body drooped even lower to the ground.
I'm sorry if I'm bothering you.
His eyes widened as a pitiful smile formed on his face. "You're not bothering me, Fluttershy," he reassured, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Believe it or not, I've never been to a spa a day in my life. This is just a little awkward for me." He rolled his eyes. "More awkward than the time I was pulled into an alternate dimension full of ponies? You bet." Once Peter removed his hoof from her shoulder, Fluttershy stood up to match his height and managed to hold eye contact for a few moments.
You never go to a spa? Oh my, you're missing out. The sauna and massages do wonders for the body.
She said, the tone in her voice heightened by the word. She barely managed to stifle a giggle, but couldn't contain her smile.
It's a good thing Rarity appointed us with full treatment. It'll be so much fun.
Peter instinctively gulped. It was fun for girls, usually boring for boys. This was more than enough reason for Peter to run while he had the chance. I've got about, several different girls that like to say otherwise. Ain't that right, ladies? Yeah! But he ached right through his body, pleading for a chance of leisure time. Besides, watching the smile on Fluttershy's face easily followed how happy she was. Why did he have to sour it? A little pride could be sacrificed to keep her happy. He raised his brow. So, what's first on the list? Twilight walked back to her abode, with Peter's backpack over her shoulders. Verity was especially quick and thorough in the costumes repair, namely, so she wouldn't lose any time working on Peter's formal wear for the gala. With the entire day ahead of her, Twilight tossed the backpack over on the couch and made her way to the library. Books were still scattered about, causing her eye to twitch involuntarily. Given it was still early in the morning, Twilight expected Spike to have at least started reorganizing by now. She turned and inhaled, ready to call Spike from his slumber. Her words staying in her throat once her violet irises found the book on its pedestal from last night. The memories of what she read were still fresh in her mind, but inspired by Dickie Moo's powers, to the day his uncle was killed. Don't! Twilight shook her head madly and turned away from the book, desperate to ignore it entirely. It's a vision of privacy. I can't just keep peeking into his personal life, she said before the book glowed with magical energy. It levitated across the room until it dropped in front of Twilight, causing her to yelp. Once the energy disappeared, she furrowed her brow and used her magic to take the book back to its original position, the pedestal. I don't understand. Why is the book revealing Peter's life to just me? The unicorn stared at the book for several moments, unsure of the course of action she should take. Obviously, destroying the book was out of the question, since Peter was connected to it. The outcome could turn either harmless or catastrophic. Her choices were limited. Twilight could continue to read, perhaps finding a reason why the book had changed so drastically, but had been a spell of misfire waiting to happen. Sighing outwardly, Twilight opened the book, flipping through her previously read passages until she had happened upon her desired location. She closed her eyes, shame sinking in and shifting her head away. I can't. This is. Princess was cut short by the book's glow return, brighter than before. Newly formed words began to write along the page, causing the young mare's eyes to widen. The words continued to form, prompting the girl to force the lump in her throat down and read the passage. I sense your doubt, young one, but read this tale. What you have read is only the beginning of the hero's tragic life. Twilight's eyes softened. After the death of his uncle, Peter went on to uphold the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. However, his resolve was weakened when his first true love, Gwen Stacy, was killed. Well, at least this isn't as played out or repeated as much as the Ben Parker death. But it's still played out! Peter's mane drooped over his face. It was fortunate since his eyes started to roll back into his head. As he rested on the bed, a mare ran her hose across his back and shoulders, sending waves of pleasure through his mind. As he pressed down, mindful to be firm, yet gentle, a red dot did not zit into his muscles. Once a content sigh escaped from Pierre, a smile formed on her face. You poor thing, you must work yourself to the bone, she said, amazed with the level of tension in her body. She grabbed his hind leg and pulled back. But Pierre, in the midst of his energies, never paid it any mind. The bear continued until Pierre's leg touched the back of his head. She held it in position for several moments. It's odd. You are the only coat I've ever seen with this much flexibility, despite the muscle tension. She smiled. Ooh, what's your secret? Spire bite, he said bluntly, causing the mare to raise her brow. She ready to ask what he meant, but somehow, someway, Pierre had fallen asleep in his awkward position. The Green Goblin tossed Gwen off the bridge. You've been using his webbing. Spider-Man managed to catch the girl. Once he pulls her back up, a horrible realization was made. Gwen Stacy was already dead. Even though evidence suggested the Goblin had already killed her, Pierre believed he himself was responsible. His guilt reached a new level of height, crippling his mind and weakening his heart. Granted, there's also a lot of theories to say that, Gwen would have been dead before she hit the water, because she did wake up for a few minutes. Of course, there's also the idea that Pierre did it himself, because if you look at the original printing of the comic, it was printed when his webbing caught her. There was a snap! And it was a subtle hint that maybe Pierre's webbing was the one that killed her. Of course, Goblin had to tease it, but lately, comics have actually published that panel without the infamous snap! I do hope that, this chapter remembers something else! The next day, the Bugle labeled Spider-Man a murderer. He continued to protect the streets of New York, but the citizens distrusting him, police firing him on sight, his personal life falling apart, Pierre began to doubt his abilities as Spider-Man. However, he stayed the path of the hero. It's my greatest sorrow that I tell you this final tragedy that will happen to young Pierre. Pressing her across her eyes, Twilight stood there sight to the next passage, but her heart nearly sunk into her stomach. Hey, person who's writing this, you forgot. Pierre then does break down. He went off on the Goblin. Proceeded to pound the snot out of him, beat him within an inch of his life, but only stopped when he came to his senses. Of course, Goblin was an asswipe, and tried to summon the glider right behind Pierre, ready to stab him. And just in the last second, Pierre jumped out of the way, allowing the glider to stab and kill Goblin right then and there. What about... We'll get to that later. Crucified, but not on a cross of gold. Hear my tale. This is how Spider-Man's life, Twilight said, causing her heartbeat to steady, will end. With a snap of the fingers. Boo! 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 Hey, I haven't seen it yet! What, are you like the only person? Oh my god. Steam filled the entire room. Temperature continued to rise. Only 2 ponies were in the room, but they seemed quite comfortable with the atmosphere. Clarissa rested on her stomach over the long seat with wings stretched out, allowing every pore in her body to open. She peeked to the side, finding Pierre just a few feet across from her on his back with a grin on his face.
How are you feeling, Peter?
She asked, her dress mane obscuring her vision slightly. Pierre stretched his legs over her head, sweating, but never better. Felt as every bit of his troubles were melting away. While his healing ability helped him recover from all his physical endeavors, couldn't take away the bent-up mental stress of the endless heroics along with everything else he juggled. For the first time in ages, Pierre was not thinking about Spider-Man, or Spider-Man in a sense. What school assignments he may or may not have forgotten, how far behind on rent he was, what new degrading word the Bugle labeled him as, or how he could find a new way to screw up in Equestria when he has it! You know, Fluttershy, he said, softly breaking the silence in the room. The yellow mare murmured gently, signaling to Pierre he indeed had her attention. At first I wasn't too sure, but I think I'm starting to like this. Her drenched mane stuck to her face. Before you see Fluttershy depressed the majority of it behind her ear.
I just need you at the spa. I'll talk to Rarity and make sure you come with us from now on,
she said, turning her head to face Pierre, whose gaze was fixed on the ceiling. I wasn't talking about the spa, he bluntly replied, shaking his head. Her filled Fluttershy's eyes. One soft laughter escaped from the cult, echoed across the room. It sounded back content. I would like that, though. My sister's hooves were made of heaven. You really think it'd be okay if I tag along with you and Rarity from now on? His mind sighed, remembering the mayor's touch so well. Seriously, I didn't think massages were possible without, fingers.
I think Rarity would be okay with it. At least I'm okay with it,
she droned, looking away in embarrassment. I sent him back, waiting to look at disapproval on Pierre's face. But instead, she found a warm smile underneath his half-closed eyes. Yeah, definitely liking this, he said before closing his eyes. Completely unaware, Fluttershy's body temperature was a bit high. Oh, come on! The book remained open, but its final pages remained read. Twilight sat with her hoof on the pedestal, clinging to it for support. She had been in this moment for several moments, quite evident by the puddle of tears on the floor by her hoof. Her head ached, not only from the prolific crying, but from also her mind trying to absorb so much information at once. Pierre, the greatest hero, was met to premature end at the hands of a group called the Sinister Six. Twilight tried to settle her nerves. Her heart continued to ache, numbing the rest of her body to a severe degree. Instead of finding happiness, despite all of his sacrifices and personal drama, Pierre was destined to die a lonely death. To make matters more unnerving, it was supposed to take place 2 months from now. Pierre, the goofy idiot that had become the ideal friend of hers in his short time in Equestria, was going to die if he went back home. It was surreal. Everybody finds happiness in their life, but Pierre was destined to be the exception despite deserving nothing short of the best for everything he's given. Not prepared to accept the words written out for her, Twilight forced herself to the ground and used her hoof to wipe away any remaining tears from her stained cheeks. Propping herself against the pedestal, the unicorn stared at the book for what seemed like an eternity. But, as it heard her silent pleas for an answer, a new passage formed on the page. However, unlike the time before, magical energy around the book was dim, a sign a new spell was weakening. To confirm her fear, the new passage, as well as the rest of Pierre's life story, began to fade away. Twilight cried out, using her magic to keep the spell alive, but a surge ignited, causing her horn to short out. Time was a factor, so she knew there was nothing that could be done to stop the disappearance. Forcefully lumped down her throat, Twilight followed along with the final passage. Probably now, my tale's coming to an end. If you're still with me, I thank you. Spider-Man is destined to do great things. He's not supposed to be here, however. With a new life comes new challenges. I know he will persevere. Please, give him the second chance he deserves. The book itself began to disappear, forcing Twilight to squint her eyes to see through the words. Soon Pierre find out about this. Tell him Madame Web will be watching. Twilight finished before her hoof fell to the spot the book used to be. The book transformed into sparkles, already scattered across the room. For better or for worse, the book used to summon Pierre was now gone. This was any chance of returning home. So much had happened, and Twilight was the only witness to what had transpired. She wanted to tell somebody, but her heart screamed for an ounce of decency, knowing it was her wrong to reveal such personal demons of information. Pierre was the first choice, since he was the centerpiece, but Twilight's stomach curled into a knot. There's a good chance Pierre would hate her for the intrusion of privacy, destroying his only way home. Her tears returned, pouring from her eyes like water would from a fountain. Twilight's sobs filled the room as she curled to the floor and pulled her tail up, allowing the mirror to bury her face within a silky cushion. She wasn't Pierre's friend. She was her worst enemy. However, she could not cry for long. A hoof brushed her mane back, rested behind her ear, bringing Twilight's teary gaze to meet a concerned Pierre. Are you okay, Twilight? What happened? He said, his voice filled with concern. The mare tried to force herself up, but her strength had abandoned her, causing her to fall face first into Pierre's chest. She pressed her hose against his chest, trying her hardest to push herself away, but her emotions were too distraught. As Pierre's hoof fell on her shoulder awkwardly, slowly pulled the mare into an embrace, Twilight began to sob uncontrollably, burying her face into her friend's coat. I don't know what happened, but I'm here for you. Because we're friends, right? Sobs returned, stronger than before. Most of all, Pierre could only bring herself to say one thing repeatedly until her voice gave away. I'm sorry, Peter. I'm so sorry.